And that's how it all begins, folks, here on the Paranormal Portal. How you all doing? Great to see everybody that's here. Great to see those of you coming in. Hello, Barbara over on Rumble. Good to see you. Hello, I like Ike. I see Rachel Gets It Right is here. Steve Garza is here. Mickey G is here. Elaine Clifford, Vincent, Jason Finch. And who else is here? Bunches of you. John Stevenson is here. As I'm scrolling upwards, I saw a few names. Annie Manuel is here. Owl 13 is here. I even saw a name that I haven't seen here for a long time, which is kind of nice. And that's an old friend of ours, Mr. Android Paranormal. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you back, or at least for tonight. Thanks for stopping in. Bogart is here, and Sheldon, of course, is here. He's in the wings. Let's bring him in now. How you doing, Sheldon?
Doing good. Wow. What happened? You look 20 years younger. What'd you do?
I just found time in a bottle. I keep finding time in the bottle, buddy.
Whoa.
Yeah. Reclaiming my youth. If I
good.
could save time in a bottle, first thing that I'd like to do is to rub it everywhere and get younger. That's me in time in a bottle. No, I'm pretty unapologetic about it, about gray. You know, my fact that my hair is mostly white, like with only a few dark ones left. I've been turning white since I was 16 years old, so even my facial hair is white, which is really stupid because it's pretty much transparent on screen. So I look clean shaved even when I'm not. But I color it in just so that you guys can get the full features. And
that's all right. I mean, I'm at 27. I'm starting to turn white, so right behind you.
You're welcome. Welcome to the gene pool. Don't forget to wear a preserver. Yeah. All right, so Phil Funk is here. Aussie Tiger's here. Looking up who else is new. Cat Dougherty's here. Good to see a cat. Hello Friend is here. Hello Friend. Hello to you.
Hello Friend.
Hello Friend came in and said hello everyone. It's like, well, hello Friend. That's cute. Let's see who else is here. Who else is here? It looks like that's pretty well. Phil Funk was one of the first ones in the door, if not the first one. And Annie Manuel was right there with them. So everybody came in pretty much in a rush after that. I haven't seen the new names, but I just said a few. Michelle Wolfong came in. Good to see you, Michelle. Kitty Cattywhack is here. Tic-tac, kitty cat, cattywhack. Doesn't it give the dog a bone? I don't know. Doesn't it go something like that? Doesn't that children's rhyme do something like that? I don't know. I've forgotten.
Tick, kittywhack, give him... Yeah,
yeah, you're killing it, too. You tried to save it, but it didn't work. No, it's okay. Nice effort. Who did I see another name? Nathan Nate. How you doing, Nathan Nate? Good to see you. And hello, Bill Simone over there. Good to see you, brother. And I think that's current.
Casey Jones?
Casey Jones. How you doing, Casey? Good to see you. Casey Jones Astrology 2. Justin Gooder has just popped in over there on Rumble. Good to see you, Justin. Thank you for coming in. And hello to any of you that aren't chatting. Of course, I know that not everybody does a lot of chatting. And you're welcome to just kick back and relax and enjoy the musings of the Paranormal Portal. And
that's right.
Hopefully you find it at least mildly entertaining, but largely entertaining would be great. There's really, no criteria to this. I do need to know, folks, because I'm hearing this when I'm editing shorts and stuff. I'm hearing a hum on the feed that I can hear. Question is, are you hearing a hum? Are you hearing any kind of hum now? Because we're going to sit just quietly. Okay, did any of you guys hear like anything like that? Let me know. I'm not hearing it in my headset, but it could be a ground loop somewhere or some shielding that I got to deal with cables. I might have a mic cable running too close to a power line and our power connector, so no hum.
Everyone said no except Wes. Wes is the unique one here.
Well, Wes is he's got a great ear for this stuff too. I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm gonna have to look at my cable setup. I did some cable management, but I might have bound a power cord with a mic cable, and that can certainly add some hum with the shielding and stuff. So, I'll try to figure it out. Thanks everybody for your feedback.
Oh, Sharon said a slight hum. Okay, never mind.
Slight hum.
There is.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, never mind. Okay, I
Wes
thought
wasn't
it was
necessarily
a little bit of trolling. No trolling. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I know Wes wouldn't joke about that. He's pretty straightforward when it comes to his sounds. He knows his sounds.
Okay.
Oh, thank God for back scratchers. Whew, that's the magic right there. All right, so we got a lot to get to tonight here, folks, on the Paranormal Portal. Of course, we're going to get into the news. Getting to be the news? I don't know where the hell I said that. We're going to be getting to the news, and then
I don't want to be the news. Wait a minute.
Well, yeah, back then, Wes, I thought maybe it was just your ears, but no, I didn't hear it back then, and I did ask the same question after you told me last time. So I was like, well, Wes is hearing it, but nobody said they heard it last time. But now I'm getting a couple more, so yeah, I'm gonna have to look into it and it's mostly noticeable when I go through the video feed and pull it back up. And I don't know if that's a filter on one of these applications that like Restream, I think is where I'm getting a lot of my clips from, and I don't know if they have some sound features built in that really magnify it, but it sounded obnoxious to me on a clip I uploaded today, and I was like, God damn, I don't want that. So anyway, hi Deborah Neighbors, good to see you. And anyone else? It's a cable car. What?
Huh?
It's a cable car. I don't know what that means.
Oh, maybe the sound of like humming when it.
Oh, he said it's a cable. He must have an autofill feature pick in there. Yeah, that's what I figured. I figured it was too, but all my connections look good, and it's got to be something running close to a power supply cord, and that's probably what's doing it. But I'm not hearing it here, so that's why I've got to ask. So anyway, I guess we'll get to the news and see what the hell's going on in the news-verse, and hopefully you'll find something entertaining and informative, or just a little interesting. So let's get to the news. What do you say, Sheldon?
I'm ready.
Sheldon's ready. Oh, by God. Hang on, because we're going in. Here we go. Time for the news. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the news studio now, and Justin Goodearth over on Rumble says, as you go through life, try not to be the news.
Absolutely, Justin.
Words to live by, brother. Thank you so much for that. I agree. I try never to be the news. So far, I'm doing okay. All right, so we got a lot of news to get to here tonight. I got several articles pulled up. I'm not sure how many we'll read because I do got to save some for tomorrow. But I did pull up several. We are going to be getting to the news. We're going to be getting to a lot of different sites throughout the course of the show. So please, everybody, as you're hearing these sites announced, please give them your love. Please give them your traffic. They are doing an incredible job, and we really want to support what they're doing because they're doing an exceptional deal. Paranormal Boone. That's you.
That's me.
Over in Rumble. Okay.
Yep.
I was like, Paranormal Boone. Oh, that's Sheldon.
Yep.
I was like, hey, welcome to the show. Sorry. I just saw that name come up. You only got like 15 of them, so they're all different plays on the Boonabar thing. But, all right. So anyway, throughout the course of the show, support these sites. Please give them your love because they are incredible, incredible sites. And I got to get the actual browser window up that has them. There we go. All right.
Excited.
So here, I did see this one on somebody else's clip today, but I found the article itself as I was going through the news. And I guess you got to listen to this. Sometimes there's some twins that almost seem to share a brain. And I'm not sure if this qualifies or if this is just two women that are just very used to talking through each other's sentences. Like that's what they've always done. And maybe it's a little bit of twin lepathy. Is that a word? Twin lepathy?
It is now.
I don't know. It is now. But it is kind of bizarre. It's kind of interesting. And we'll watch the clip too, because it's in here. I'm glad they put it in here. And it's coming from Australia, ladies and gentlemen. So here's the article, and then we'll check out the actual news clip. It's pretty fascinating. Here we go. From unexplained-mysteries.com, ladies and gentlemen, Australian identical twins speak in unison in bizarre viral news clip. It is, I mean, obviously they're related. They even got the same shirts on. Come on. I hope they're both nurses, because if that's what they choose to wear normally, that's a little different. Right?
It's a bit different, yeah.
They're little bunny shirts. I think they must be nurses in a pediatric unit. We're going to go with that anyway. But anyway, let's see what it says. Bridget and Paula Powers not only look alike, but they also speak simultaneously with remarkable accuracy. The Australian sisters recently went viral after appearing in a 7 News Queensland interview, during which they spoke about an armed carjacking incident that they had witnessed nearby. But it wasn't what they were saying about the incident that caught people's attention. It was the fact that the two women seemed to speak at the same time and say exactly the same thing. It was sort of like watching the same person speaking in stereo. The two women even mirrored each other's hand gestures as they recounted what happened. It later turned out that this wasn't the first time the twins had appeared on TV. They'd also been featured in an interview on British morning television back in 2016. Their ability to speak almost in perfect unison is quite something to behold. You can check out the clip below. Well, you're in luck, folks. We're going to check it out. This has come from 7 News Australia. And so let's check out this clip. It is bizarre. I don't know if there's any music on this or not. I hope not. But at any rate, pay attention to how these two talk. It's really bizarre.
We're in cleaning our birds, and we heard this big bang. We said, oh no, another car accident. So we drop everything and we went running out the front. We seen Mum running out from the house up there, and then other cars were pulling up and checking to see if the person was okay. And one guy, he was up there with our mum, and he went up there and he was coming back down towards us, and he goes, run, he's got a gun. And our heart started to pound, and I said, oh Mum, where's Mum? And poor Mum was stuck up there, but apparently our brave Mum, she goes, are you all right? Because he had all blood all over his face. And he goes, I'll shoot you. She goes, hey, I'm here to help. And Mum distracted him to make him look the other way, and he looked the other way, and Mum ran into the bush behind the fence. And the guy goes to her, I'll find you and I'll shoot you. Yes.
How did she distract him initially? Did she just say, like, look the other way?
Well, he must have been going, I don't know.
Tell me that's not a little weird, right?
Oh my Lord.
Could you imagine family gatherings? Could you imagine Christmas, Thanksgiving, holidays, anything where you would have these two sitting next to you, talking to you, and you know that they probably stick pretty closely together, and you'd have to deal with both of them all night. Now, I'm not saying it's horrible. It's just quirky as hell. It's like, I don't know which one to look at. You know how you like to have eye contact, but you don't know if they're like sharing a brain or what's going on here. Very weird though, right? Very weird. So BJ Lapierre says, my husband has an identical twin, and thank goodness there aren't like that. Yeah, that would be that. I mean, it's very interesting, but it's also mildly disturbing. And I
mean,
don't know.
that's like the stereotypical twin right there, where they speak at the same time, saying the exact same thing. That's stereotype right there.
And what we don't know is, did they rehearse what they saw together and then do a news clip about it? Because it almost seems like one waits for the other and then will cue in on what they're saying, and then the other one will wait for the other one to start. And it's like between them, they got a full script. And I don't know what to make of it. Is it bizarre telepathy, one brain kind of thing, or is it just some idiosyncratic thing that they can do, just cueing in on each other's stories because were seeing the same thing?
I mean, they can't be no. I don't think it can be rehearsed. I mean, because that entire statement would still take a while to rehearse.
We're only like a minute 20 into this, and it's a 3-minute 34 second clip. I'm gonna put the whole news link in the chats, and you guys can watch the whole thing if you want. But I'm here to tell you that was like, I don't know.
Android says, have either of you listened to the telepathy tapes? It was life changing for me. Android says.
No, I have not.
I haven't either.
Huh.
Oh.
I'm not sure what the telepathy tapes are. So it sounds interesting. I mean, there's no question I believe in telepathy, and I believe in the ability of telepathy. I just don't know in this case, is this telepathy or is this something else? I don't know. It's very strange. But
Eric says, yes, they did. It's a vaudeville act.
What?
Eric says, yes, they did. It's a vaudeville act.
This is not, what is it, not a true clip? What does that mean?
I don't know.
I'm not sure what that means either. And where are you getting this information, or are you just thinking that that's what this is? Let me know, Eric, when you can. Yeah, that's very. Yes, they did. It's a vaudeville act. Okay, Eric. Anywhere you can find some information about that, please post it, because I don't want to disparage these people either. But if it's kind of a scammy, news baity kind of thing, yeah, I mean that's probably should be exposed if it's not quite as unique as it seems. But
yeah,
at any rate, there you go. I was today old when I saw that for the first time, and then I've seen it twice.
Yeah, I mean, assuming that it's true and genuine, I think that's amazing.
Right.
I think that's bizarre, but also amazing at the same time. Yeah. If it's fake, then well, that sucks. But
it is. It's And hello, friends. It's definitely interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I've known twins that would feed off of each other's thoughts in real time. Like they would just, one person would say something and another person would say something as if it was one cohesive thought. And I always thought that was different. But this is a whole different level. This is like, what? Where's the hive mind on this one? I don't know. They're like drone ants. Where's
the queen twin who's giving you these messages?
Yeah, it's some really obese person in one of the sheds behind him, spitting out more clones. I don't know. Not that it had to be obese. I was just thinking of a queen ant. You know how big.
Well, yeah, they're big. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fine train of thought.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the first news article. And
Eric says, watch old vaudeville acts. It's been done before. Okay, so he doesn't know for sure.
Okay, so that's your opinion. Fair enough. I mean, it's not as though it couldn't be scripted. The question is this? And I don't know. But apparently they were interviewed in 2016 on British television as well. I don't know what that looks like. If it was a lot of the same where they're still talking over each other and talking through each other. I don't know. Very interesting. I don't know anything about it other than what we just read here. But it's fascinating, and maybe it's something. I don't know. Weird.
I mean, we have read stories before too where like a spiritual link kind of thing where I think it was like one of the twins got like injured, broken arm, and the other twin knew
yeah.
when that happened, type
Right.
of thing. So
Yep.
at the very least, there could be a connection between that. And in this case, if it is true, then this could be like the most severe of that connection type of thing.
Wouldn't it be weird? Like you're wondering, wait, is this my thought or hers? I mean, if you really don't know if these are your thinking or is this your twins thinking, and are you getting it, and or are they taking control? Something really creepy. I don't
Who's
know.
controlling who?
It's almost like a mannequin. Like you'd expect one of them to have a little string out the back of her head, and the other one's yanking it.
Right. Yeah.
But they are talking at the same time. It's very strange stuff. All right. I don't know. I just thought you guys might find that interesting if you hadn't seen that. If you had, this is the Portal take on it. We think it's freaking weird. It's really bizarre, but there you go. All right, let's go to the next article from unexplained-mysteries.com. And I didn't know this was being contested, but apparently there's proof to substantiate the claim. I think oftentimes it was having to do with Christians and stuff back in ancient Rome, being put in the gladiators' rings with tigers and other wild animals and destroyed. But anyway, let's check this out. This next article is from unexplained-mysteries.com, and this is Archaeology and History. First physical evidence of gladiators fighting wild animals was found.
Oh.
I didn't know it was questioned. I just figured it was kind of a matter of fact. But let's see what it says. Gladiatorial combat often saw participants pitted against wild beasts as well as human combatants. While we know from historical records that gladiators of ancient Rome once stood toe-to-toe with wild animals such as lions and tigers in the arena, actual physical evidence proving that this was the case had been rather thin on the ground. Oh, on the ground. Okay. This all changed recently, however, when archaeologists conducted a renewed examination of skeletal remains unearthed at Dryfield Terrace, a site in York, England, that was once thought to be home to a gladiator burial ground. Of particular note, were what looked like bite marks on one of the skeleton's pelvic bones. Ooh.
Ooh.
Using modern techniques not available at the time of the original excavation back in the 1990s, Tim Thompson, a forensic anthropologist at Maynooth University in Ireland, has now been able to determine that these, in fact, are the bite marks of a large carnivore, most likely a lion. Didn't work out well for that guy. In the groin of all the places. Must have been fatal. Or he just said, kill me, that's it, I'm done. What's more, the marks coincide roughly with the time of the individual's death. This essentially confirms what historical records suggest, that gladiators during the time of the Roman Empire would have engaged in combat with large wild animals in the arena. It also shows that such fights were not restricted to just Colosseum in Rome itself. The assumption has been that maybe the artifacts of the Roman Britain are just reflections of things happening in Rome, most tapping into Roman myth, said Thompson. And what we're suggesting now, actually, is that we have evidence for that spectacle happening here in York. Yeah, I don't think, I think they would have had to bring in lions, right? They probably aren't roaming the English countryside. So, yeah. Hey, what should we have people do? Let's bring up a lion. It's like, wow, that's who drew the short straw on that one.
Oh, God.
Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah, to catch a lion back in, it's not like they had guns with darts,
Right. No, they had to probably just net them and just trap them and deal with all their bad feelings. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. But there you have it. There's proof that the gladiators did apparently deal with animals, and I'm sure it wasn't just the gladiators, just anybody that they wanted to get rid of. They probably made a public spectacle of it. How you doing, Werewolf? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. And anyone else come in that I didn't see? Looks like we got them all.
Bill Simone.
Yeah, Bill Simone's been here for a little bit. I said hello to him before, but yeah. Bill Simone. Okay. All right, let's go to the next and maybe the last one tonight. What are we doing for time? Yeah, it's about 7:30. I don't know. We'll see what we get to. Because if I do this, there'll be 2 more left for tomorrow night. Let me see which one I should read. This one's not too long. Well, that's the one I just read, derp. Let me actually I actually just have 2 more. Yeah, we'll do 1 more now. And,
I'm sorry. The joke took me a second. Phil said, what did Spartacus say when the lion ate his wife? Nothing. He was gladiator.
oh.
God.
I'm so glad you're here, Sheldon, because when you're not and those jokes come up, I was like, oh, Sheldon would love that one.
Indeed.
There you go. You're here and you're on camera this time.
Yeah.
You're in the same house with me before, and I couldn't get you on film.
Yeah.
But now you're here and on Friday, and it's just like before. All right, here we go. This is the UFO Phenomena Files of Unexplained-Mysteries.com, and this is experts to attend new congressional hearing on UAPs next month. Okay. I don't expect anything new and groundbreaking is going to come out that didn't come out every other time they're having these groundbreaking hearings.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of faith in it personally. I'm just not ever expecting that somebody's just going to go, hey guys, guess what? Here's the books. It's just never going to happen.
So it just brings up a disappointing, like when that one hearing happened and it was like, yes, aliens exist. No, we have no chance against them and all that. I thought that was groundbreaking. I thought the world headlines were going to happen, and nobody gave a crap, it seemed.
Yeah, well, the David Grush. Are you talking about David Grush interviews?
I think so.
In front of Congress?
So.
Yeah.
Yep.
There were so many detractors, and that's probably disinformation. I don't know. But when I spoke to George Norrie, I was like, well, what do you think? Was he telling the truth? He goes, yeah, he had nothing to gain at all. And I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know what to think, really, because, of course, I heard those pro and those against, and unless you're in the know for sure, I just didn't know what to think. If it was just another posturing, distraction, or was he really just opening his conscience and saying, here's the stories, here's what's happening? And so, but you're right, you would have expected. I mean, it did make some pretty good waves initially, but it just died out so fast.
Yeah, it was like maybe after like a few days, a week, something around there, then like nobody cared, nobody talks about it anymore. It was just like, I thought that was huge. Like, to me, I was like, oh my God, this is massive.
Yeah.
And everybody else was like, oh, okay, all right.
Oh, what's for lunch?
It's like, what?
So do you want to go grab Chipotle later? Yeah, it's kind of tragic. You'd think that it would be just really revolutionary, groundbreaking exposure, especially in light of like the Tic Tac videos and stuff like that were released and subject to a whole lot of possibility.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what this says. The briefing will be the latest in a series of events designed to encourage disclosure of information on UFOs. So the events are designed to encourage disclosure. Okay. Well, I'm not holding my breath. But anyway, ever since footage of UAPs captured by the U.S. Navy personnel was leaked to the public back in 2017, there's been an increasingly prominent calls for the government to release everything it knows on the topic, and a growing acceptance of these objects as a subject of concern and importance. There have already been several congressional hearings on UFOs with government officials, military personnel, scientists, and even intelligence community whistleblowers revealing detailed accounts of encounters with unknown objects, both in the U.S. and elsewhere. This latest hearing, which is due to take place on May 1st, wow, that's actually pretty soon, will see a number of prominent figures, including Harvard scientist Avi Loeb and former AATIP head Luis Elizondo, meet with the goal of examining the topic of UAPs and its implications. The open live-streamed event will feature members of Congress and leading experts who will offer a science-driven perspective on unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAP, formerly known as unidentified flying objects. Jesus. It's still known as UFOs. Not everybody's on the UAP bandwagon, and having new buzzwords doesn't change the phenomena. Yeah, it's just dumb. The website states, discussions will examine the implications of UAP for science, national security, and innovation. These are all tired old concepts that have been discussed to death. In an era marked by rapid advancements in aerospace, energy, and artificial intelligence, the significance of UAP has transitioned from fringe curiosity to a matter of central importance. This nonpartisan briefing will convene esteemed figures from the realms of science, defense, and technology to discuss the multifaceted aspects of UAPs. Okay. Okay, well, there we go. That'll do it. Okay.
Yeah, that's something.
I don't know. It's just like a whole lot of posturing. Like, hey guys, look what we're doing. We're working for you. I mean, it's mostly political maneuvering, I think, at this point. Look, we're having hearings. We're having hearings about this stuff, guys. We're working on it.
Yeah, making it look like they're actually doing stuff about it.
Yeah, and in reality, I don't think any of the real meat and taters will ever hit our public, knowledge. I mean, there's just too much plausible deniability, and there's also too many implications of national security. That is going to be the big fail-safe, get out of jail free card. It's like, oh, national security. So it really limits the scope of ever really digging into this stuff deeply, because they always have that fallback. That's like that's the wild card.
It's the standard.
It is. It's like the rubber stamp. Oh, I'd love to answer that question, but national security. It's like,
so lame.
Right? But it is. How do you feel about this? I'd love to tell you national security. Damn.
So lame.
Thought we had them there. It's like, no, you never had them. They're just never going to answer the questions.
Well, I mean, I just don't understand, like, what could this expose America to weakness if they were to, like, at least maybe 80% of what they know, instead of, like, giving us these little trickling percents here and there. I don't understand, like, what makes us vulnerable by just saying, hey, this is what we found and this is what we know so far.
Because I think they would have to admit pretty robustly that they know nothing, really. Like, they don't have any knowledge. And then the things they do have knowledge of, like collected craft, well, that would become part of the public purview then. And so any research and military applications being developed for those things is going to be hindered if it's part of the public sphere of knowledge. So
why?
Because you can't. Let's say you have a craft that doesn't use any known means of propulsion, so it doesn't leave heat trails. It's almost potentially completely invisible to any modern radars. So you stand to learn how to develop a craft that can do all of that. But if it's part of the public purview, then that knowledge becomes publicly accessible to a degree, even though it may not include specifics. It's like telling the world, look, this is what we have, and this is the kind of stuff we're working to build. And I don't know, secrecy is important. It really is for, military applications. Like, if everybody knows what you have, then they can start working on what they need to have in order to combat that. But if they don't know we have it, and they don't know we're building it, then I guess it's kind of an unknown, Power source would be a big deal. I mean, all of it would be a huge deal. You're right, spiraling. Just the advancements that we stand to make. I mean, with transit systems around the world, if we could literally freight move impossibly heavy objects at a zero gravitational field, I mean, the energy requirements to move those objects would be minimal. If anything, you probably do it with a moped. You know, like you're pulling a battleship sized thing on a moped. You know, because it's escaped the physics, and so it would reshape everything. I'm sure medical advancements, so on and so forth. But unfortunately, the first application is always going to be, can we make it a weapon? You know?
Oh yeah, of course.
So
and wait, let me see. Android brought up a good point. I lost it. There it is. You cannot tell your friends without telling your enemies too. And yes, that is true.
Yep. Well said.
Rachel says they're afraid that if people learn UFOs and aliens are real, that people will start swallowing Mentos and Diet Pepsi at the same time. Nothing matters anymore. Maybe Mentos and Diet Pepsi is a lie too.
Could be. But anyway.
I mean, I do understand these points. It's just the selfish and stubborn part of me says, I don't care. Tell me anyway.
Well, it's the thing is that I think people have a right to know, because if you're looking at technologies that could reshape, even the playing field for the entire world, you know, that you could get energy, you could create energy anywhere. So there wouldn't be the energy barriers that a lot of developing nations have, and the ability to have lights, heat, you know, anything. Electricity, air conditioning, for God's sakes, you know, in some countries that would be amazing, but it could really change things, and it's unfortunate that that's an afterthought. It could reshape our civilization as we know it, but instead, let's see what kind of gun it makes, you know, and that's sad.
That's true.
Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, we just don't know. We don't have any official acknowledgement of anything other than, hey, we've seen this stuff. We don't know what it is. That's the only official acknowledgments we've had, and even those are not unchallenged. So,
do you wonder sometimes? And I'm sure people in the chat and that are watching have wondered this too. But don't you wonder where we would be, technologically, medically, all of that, if we just progressed for the sake of progression and better well-being and convenience, rather than holding things back for money and selfish reasons like that?
Yeah. I mean, where would we be now? I mean, it would probably be, my God, it would be unrecognizable to today. It would be like living in a strange future environment. Like if you put both of those timelines side by side, they would be probably like Star Trek, and we would be us, you know. If you put it side by side, I'm sure it would look something like that. Like that would be the disparity, or Star Wars versus Bonanza. You know, So that's an old television Western show. So, just for the record. But anyway, yeah. But just think about it. You could have lightsabers by now. Come on.
I know.
There'd be all kinds of kids with missing arms everywhere. We have to have entire universities, the school of lefties. I used to be a righty. Anyway, just food for thought. But anyway, let's Mars attacks, Eric Fry says. Yeah, there you go. All right, so that's been the news. I hope you guys found that at least somewhat interesting and compelling, and good discussion points, though. Sheldon, I saw technology director say in an interview, capitalism is too slow to develop weapons, and China and Russia would pass us if not done in secretive. Huh. Well, I suppose so. But then again, do they have $1,800 hammers in China? I don't know. Just saying. They seem to have found ways around that whole capitalism thing.
They have Chinesium. It's different.
Where exactly is the $3 million toilets? Yeah. What does that look like? Yeah. No. Reinforced porcelain. It's very expensive. All right. Anyway, this has been the news. Hopefully you found some merit in it, but let's get back to the rest of the show.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We're back. This is the rest of the show. Hope you guys liked the news. I had a good time doing it. Rachel says Carl Sagan brought up in an episode of Cosmos. He suggested we'd be visiting distant stars by now. Yeah. Yep. We would be shooting around on Enterprises and stuff, but instead we got the airlines. That's what we got. Yeah. So, what?
I was just saying, yeah, unbelievable. Yeah.
Yep. That's what we got. All right. Well, we have more to get to, folks, which is good. We, of course, are going to be getting to the cryptids eventually. I got to find out where we are. Here we are. But for the last several shows, we've been going through an incredible article from Thought Catalog, ladies and gentlemen. And this one it's been fun. It's written by Eric Redding, and it's 49 real nurses tell the terrifying hospital ghost stories that scared them to death. Oof. And they've been good. They've been pretty fantastic. I really have enjoyed this article. It's very well done. Yeah. And some really creepy, horrible, scary kind of stuff, and some kind of sweet. But it's been a whole plethora of emotions. So let's do this one. This is number 32 is where we are. So let me pull it up so we can actually see it here. I'll leave the light on. Again, this is from thoughtcatalog.com. Check out Thought Catalog, folks. It's a really cool site. I was pulling guard shift in the CHS on, do you know what a CHS is? I think that's a military term. Oh, okay. On FOB, which is Forward Operating Base, Spiker, on night in Iraq, and there hadn't been any action for the whole previous week, so the staff was all racked out. I was walking the halls, and everything was supposed to be off or on standby. Well, I walked past one room that they used for locals who were victims of trauma. The lights were on, so I toggled the switch down to turn them off, and I started walking down the hall again when I saw the lights come back on out of the corner of my eye. Well, this is when I went into alert mode. Safety off at low ready. I cleared the corner and looked into the room. Nothing. I put the switch back down into the down position and went to call it up on the intercom. The radio was on the fritz. So I began walking back to the CQ desk to report it in person. The lights turned back on. Well, at this point, I'm a little on edge. I can't radio in for help, and there's nobody on this side of the compound that would hear me yell, and the light switch position keeps changing when the lights go back on. Keep in mind that I'm on Forward Operating Base in a combat zone. I don't know what I was expecting when I went to clear the corner and to look into the room again, but I saw nothing but an empty room, a gurney, a heart monitor, and a crash cart. I couldn't tell you to this day why I said what I did, but I was worried that if I didn't, the lights would keep switching back on. I said, "If you're scared of the dark, I'll leave the light on for you." Well, I finished my shifts and left the light on. I left a note on the desk that one of the surgeons had asked me to always leave that light on just in case they had an emergency come in. For the remainder of my shifts, that light had remained on. Ooh, that's a pretty cool take, though, because I would have thought, oh, it's just someone screwing with me. Someone's being mischievous or whatever. But what if it is somebody that didn't make it, and they just didn't want to sit in the dark?
Oh,
so that's kind of sweet, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think that's kind of neat. And it's kind of neat that he said, you know what, if you're afraid of the dark, I'll leave it on. And no more problems. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to number 33. I got the hell out of there. It's not exactly what it says, but that's the version you're getting. I worked at a hospital doing transport for a couple of years. The transport home base was in the basement of the hospital where all the laundry is done, and supplies are also sorted there. Well, I hated working late nights after this incident. On this particular night, I was the only one in the basement when I heard whistling at the end of the hallway by the elevator. Well, I poked my head around the corner expecting to see my only coworker on duty that night, but there was absolutely nobody there. Well, I just shrugged it off. I'm really not easily spooked. Nights are slow, so I ate some snacks and hung out in the break room for a bit. The next thing I know, I hear a loud bang. Well, I walked in the hallway and a bed is rolling down the hall, bumping into the sides. At this point, I think my coworker is just screwing with me. I radioed him, and he says he's upstairs in the cafeteria. I still don't believe him, and I think I'll catch him in the act, so I walk past the laundry room, and the machines start. I pop my head in there, expecting to find him, but it's completely empty. Okay, starting to get a little bit nervous. I walked into the laundry room, and the machines completely stop. I freeze and then run out again and head towards the elevator when I hear the whistling again. At this point, I know I'm the only worker in the basement, and as I'm standing there waiting for the elevator, things start falling off the shelves down the hall. Boxes of gloves, tissues, packages of tubes. I'm literally standing there watching them fall off one by one at the opposite end of the hallway. I kid you not, my entire body broke out in goosebumps. My hair stood on end, and I had this strong gut feeling I was being watched, and I wasn't alone. As I'm getting into the elevator, I feel what feels like someone brushing my arm. Went upstairs, found my coworker in the cafeteria, freaked out to him. I got the hell out of there and transferred soon after that. The creepy thing to add to it is that I usually whistle mindlessly to myself at work, and it was almost as if the spirit was just mimicking me. Creepiest feeling ever. How do you like that one, Sheldon?
Sounds like a trickster spirit.
Yeah.
To me.
That one went fully Hollywood level. I mean, it's, oftentimes, and I wasn't there. And do we know this is an absolutely factual story? No, but it's represented as factual. Mm-hmm. I will tell you, I've certainly seen quite a bit of spiritual activity, but I've never seen something like that. And I think that would be one of those situations where I've always said, I don't get freaked out on ghost investigations. Well, I really don't up to this point. But I think if I saw that, I'd be changing my mind about that. I'd be like, okay, this is a little too much. This is a little too much. I don't know, man. That's really pretty intense. If all of those things happen, as this person said, that's well, the other thing is that at that point I would have to believe that it's probably not your average run-of-the-mill earthbound spirit, that you're dealing with something that's apparently a lot more capable. And what is that? What would be a lot more capable? Well, it could be something like a demon. It could be, poltergeists can be incredibly profound activity, but they're usually projected from somebody living is the idea. That it's some kind of unconscious projection. But this is something that was mimicking him, whistling, doing the whistling thing like he did, and just screwing with them and bouncing carts off the walls and then lobbing boxes and turning lights on and off or whatever. It's just, that's a lot of activity. That's a lot of energy. What do you think of that?
Actually, that's a good point. The amount of things happening would have to cause a lot of energy. So if it was dark, mm-hmm. if it was really dark, that would be like at the level of like demonic because of how much.
Do you mean dark?
That takes.
You mean dark in vibe, like the feeling, or do you mean like the lights were off?
Vibe and feeling.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that would be. Wouldn't that be? That would be more than just trickster, wouldn't it? That's trying to instill deep fear.
Well, the trickster things are kind of, they were kind of along the lines of more powerful entities. They were considered maybe even like a version of jinn, not by direct relation, but by energy and intensity. Like they were very capable of really screwing with people. And so that would probably put them somewhere maybe near the realm of demonic potential. If these are, I mean, these are old labels, old labels.
Yeah.
Trickster spirits were almost like a kind of rudimentary deity in a sense, or like a demigod of some kind or something. You know, I mean, they were regarded as kind of in the same thread of things like that. So I don't know. I guess they could certainly have that potential, that kind of energy. But
you're right. Or this is just a writing project.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it could be, we could have just read a big thread of fiction that the author found on Reddit and just pulled into this, and we don't know. We can't question the person, but they are represented as true. And if the thing that I always have said through the years of doing the show, and I said this probably forever since starting the show, but if of all the stories that I cover, if only 1% of them are true, if 1% of all the stories that I covered are true and the rest of them are bunk, that's still incredible. That's still, and I know my own stories are true because I experienced them. Like I was there. I can tell you, I mean, you have to have faith that I'm being honest with you, but if you do, then, you know, you'd have to recognize that part was true. But yeah, I mean, it's still, you don't, can they all be true? Probably not. But I, you know, some stories, they stand out like a glowing thumb. It's like, I don't believe that's real. I don't believe you fell in love with a ghost. I don't believe you had any kind of relations with that spirit. I'm not thinking that probably happened. Now, I don't know. It's all in how they're written. I've read plenty of Twilight-esque ghost stories through the years, and it's like, oh dear God, you know. But yeah, but some of them are much more difficult to know. You just got to come to your own conclusion on that, folks, because I'm not ever going to tell you this is definitely real. I'm for sure. I don't know, but it could be. And if it is, that's pretty powerful. I will tell you that my cousin Paul had experiences like this in his home in Michigan. And he was a guest on my podcast for several episodes, but it's A Haunting in Michigan is the name of the episodes. And if you go back into the podcast archives and listen to them, and I will guarantee you that every one of those is real, because I went through it with him. Like, I'd be on the phone with him daily as he was dealing with this, and he was being run through the ringer by this entity, this being. And it was hard to hear him like that, because he's a very strong, willful person. He's in law enforcement, for God's sakes. Mm-hmm. And what was going on was just starting to crush him. It was just so much. And every day, every night, 3 a.m., it would start. And it would go and go until he was just beside himself. Strange things getting thrown around. He had a vault in his basement, which is basically a big gun room. He was a federal firearms licensed dealer, and he had literally an in-ground safe, and it had concrete walls and a combination lock, a vault door. And he was upstairs, and he heard this horrible crashing sound from somewhere. It was like, and faint screaming, like this horrible screaming, and things crashing. And he was like, "What is it?" And he went and looked around his house. He didn't see it. He said the next day he had to go into his gun vault and everything was ripped off the walls. And I'm talking like lag bolted racks with guns thrown and peeled off of these concrete walls. Like, whatever did this was so incredibly powerful. Yeah, I know, right? And
oh my Lord.
He said he woke up one time, and all of this is in the episodes, but he woke up one time, and I think it was first his wife at the time woke up, and she said, "What's going on? What's going on? Is there a fire?" And then he got up, because he's a very light sleeper, and went down to the end of the hallway to the dining room, living room, kitchen area, and there was a wall of like fog in his house. He couldn't see. And he said as they stood there, this wall of fog just moved across the room, and they could see further and further into the room, but it was like there was this wall of this fog that just disapparated and was gone. And his dog was a big mastiff, and it would cower and shiver, and then sometimes would just go nuts and charge the door and slam its head, snarling and drooling. And I mean, he went through such hell. And then suddenly one day it was just like, boom. It was just gone. And that was like about a month or month and a half that it lasted. But it was every freaking day. So.
My God.
Yeah, I mean, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And it was really, really, I mean, it makes for a great episode. But what you're going to hear on that episode, if you go and listen to it, is absolutely true. So.
That is, yeah, oh my God, that would be absolutely demonic.
Yeah, it seemed like it. It seemed like
it's
it.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lot of power.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But anyway, yeah. All right. Well, let's go to the next one. This is number 34. She yelled at him, and he came back. Oh. First story. Patient had been in CCU, critical care unit, where I work at the time, for a long period of time, 6 months. And we had finally been transferred to med-surgical floor, and he coded. We worked on him for 45 minutes to an hour, and he had no pulse or heart rhythm, and the entire time, and the docs had decided to call it. And his family walk in the room, leans over him, and rubs his chest lightly and says his name, and immediately he regains a pulse and then regains consciousness. Wow, that's a beautiful story. Whoa, that's a cool story. Second story. Patient comes in coding, and we're working on him, and we're getting nothing. So we bring in his wife to say goodbye, and she starts yelling at him at the top of her lungs, and he comes back. So we arrange transfer to a tertiary hospital, and he codes again. So she comes back and yells at him again, and he comes back again. Cuts to they're loading him into the helicopter, and he codes again. So they bring him back into our ER after working on him for a bit on the helipad. And his wife yells at him again, and once again, he immediately comes back to life. Eventually, they decided to have his wife ride in the helicopter with him to make sure that she can scare him back to life if he were to code again. The guy ended up living and received a heart transplant and is still alive to this day, all thanks to his wife scaring the life back into him. So that's funny. That is funny.
Oh my God.
My hair is very much white. Foot Clan's asking, what does your hair look like? A mess. There's a reason I wear a hat. It's a mess. It's an absolute disaster.
It's not gray. It's literally white.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be coloring it probably tomorrow. I just didn't get there today. I can show you if you want to see. I don't know. Don't judge me. Whatever's going on under here is not going to be pretty. Because, but
I don't know why. I don't know why you don't like it. I wish my hair was completely white like that. That's cool.
Oh, it will be. Just wait. So this is what's left of the last dye job, and this is what's coming in to replace it. All the white. So that's my hair. It's all white. So sorry. It's almost a Medusa moment. So I pulled back.
He's almost albino.
He's what?
You're almost albino.
Oh God. Yeah. No. I know I'm already light, fair skinned, and then I burn. I only turn shades of pink in the sun, and then I got freaking white hair. So it's
missing the red eyes.
It's not my fault. It's a damn bush. I thought it was on fire. Tried to put it out. Oops. Yeah, it's a Bible joke. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, yep, looks fine. Aged gracefully. I'm okay not looking like a ghost yet. That's kind of what it does. It is because I've seen photos of myself when I've let my hair go all white. I'm like, yeah. So it's kind of like freaks me out. So I'm like, no, I'm not doing it for everyone else. Trust me, I'm doing it for me. It's like, I still want to see pigment in that hair. I'm not ready to look at the white stuff. But if I ever did decide to go all white, I would just grow it all out. Just grow it all out long and do the
like
whole,
a wizard.
Like a wizard, Harry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big beard and everything.
No,
yeah.
I can't do a beard. I cannot grow the kind of whiskers. This is the best I can do is a goatee kind of thing.
Oh.
My I didn't get much in the whiskers line when they were planning my build, so Yep.
Okay.
So anyway, that guy would definitely not betray his wife. She was having none of this "you're dying" thing. And he was definitely listening. He was more scared of her than going into the afterlife. No, I won't leave you. So I don't go to the beach because I'm truly a sunburn hater. Yeah, I don't much like sunburns either, but it's the only color I get. So I do like sitting out in the sun. Paranormal Portal first. Yeah, you saw it here. I mean, I'm not real, what's the word? I'm not really worried about the fact that my hair gets roots and stuff and then grows out and probably looks like absolute hell because usually I'm wearing the hat anyway. So it's only the rim here that gets a little light and white. But I just figure, I just want to color it. I like coloring it. I like the look of it better personally. But it's not because I'm trying to confuse people like, no, I'm really not this age. I'm much younger, you know. Like some people color their hair and it's very clearly not their hair color. The medium brown is actually my natural hair color before it went white, so it still works for now. But I mean, I get even the eyebrows and the facial hair finally went white, and it's like, oh God. So I gotta color that too, just so it shows up on film.
Oh.
So anyway,
man.
Oh man, what?
I say just let it go. Just let it go. Whatever. Anyway, you can let yours go. When you grow your own batch, you can just let that go. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for it to come in.
Careful what you wish for. All right. Anyway, let's get to the next one. What time is it? Yeah, it's only 8. We're fine. Number 30.
Fine.
Thanks. Good. Yeah, we're fine. Number 35, the old psych hospital. This already sounds like it's going to be juicy. The old psych wards even active psych wards are pretty wild places. But, you know, if you've got disembodied spirit psych ward and ghosts, that's a whole different thing. I worked overnight security in one of the largest, best, and oldest hospitals in the U.S. My fellow security officers and I all have stories about one building in particular, but the one that I'll tell you is the one that actually happened to me. The backstory: this hospital was built in the late 1800s, and it was the original psychiatric building for this hospital. Now, being the late 1800s, not much was truly known about psychiatric disorders. On top of that, this hospital was known for its medical research, which honestly was barbaric as hell.
Oh, yep.
With both of these facts combined, you can infer that some terrible stuff was done to these misunderstood psych patients in this building. Well, a couple of years before I started working security there, this building had been converted into offices. Oh no. And the newly built part of the hospital dedicated a section for an updated psych ward. Here's my story. My rounds for that night happened to include said building. At night, this building was empty due to recently being converted into offices, and the drones who worked there wanting to leave promptly at 1700, if not earlier. In some of their haste, they left their office doors unlocked, which is a big no-no due to medical information being located in their offices. It was our duty to go to each floor and make sure every door was locked, and if it wasn't, to secure it for ourselves. Well, I did my initial sweep of the building to make sure that it was clear, nobody in the building, and proceeded to do my door checks. The hallways were pretty narrow, so I could check both sides of the hallway's doors at once. At the end of this hallway, there was 2 sets of doors you had to go through to reach the final office, which was a dead end. Everything was secure. Awesome. Time for the next floor. Well, I exited the 2 sets of doors from the dead end office and stood absolutely frozen from what I saw. Every door ajar, set perfectly so their own weight wouldn't cause them to shut again, and one wheelchair at the end of the said hallway facing towards the steps. Well, I had heard other security officers outright reject that set of rounds due to strange stuff happening there, but I laughed it off until that night happened. Never took those rounds again. Second story is the old children's ICU is currently under construction to be turned into medical labs, so we have to patrol that area. Once again, to make sure the area is secure or to report if the contractor foreman stayed to plan for the next day. When patrolling this area, several security officers have reported seeing a single white male child around the age of 5 to 7 with short brown hair, I think of a 90s bowl cut. And I personally dismissed this was before the psych ward incident, as just a tall tale told with the intent to scare me because I was just new at the time. Well, I got that building's patrol one night, and a foreman who stayed late called security and asked for a security officer to come up because a kid locked himself in a room. And I don't want him to get hurt with all the open wires in there or something to that effect. Well, I unlocked the door for him, locked in what could only be a 10 by 8 room for about 10 minutes. No kid. Called it in as a false alarm and finished my patrol. Third story, I had a special detail, aka babysitting, a violent psych patient, along with another security officer. He woke in the middle of the night, recognized the other officer, and said hello. He sees me and immediately starts screaming at me not to hurt him. Now, I'm a rather large gentleman at 6'2" and 250 pounds, but I try not to make myself too intimidating around psych patients, just as to not escalate the situation. Well, he keeps screaming for me not to hurt him, and he says if I promise not to, he'll make something good happen for me. Well, I promise, and he calms down and just goes back to sleep, and I forget about it. Next day, I got a permanent set of rounds and a pretty good promotion. Easily a coincidence, but interesting nonetheless. That's kind of cool, right? I'll make something good happen, and then something good happens.
Yeah.
It's like, I think we locked up Jesus. That's not good. You know, maybe let him go. It's like the Green Mile here. Fourth story, fellow security officer had rounds in the aforementioned psych building, heard a call on the radio in what could only be described as a dry throat terror voice for one officer to back up. Well, I was close, so I responded to his call, letting him know that I was on my way. When I got there, he had his head between his knees and was silently crying with a shattered chandelier a couple feet next to him. Now, before I'd experienced the abnormal happenings in the building, I would have just written off his testimony as idiocy. But he claimed that something held him in that spot as the chandelier started swinging wildly until it started to fall. When it started to fall, he was let go and allowed to move, and scrambled out of the way before it hit him. Got up, calmed him down, and took him back to the supervisor. She yelled to one of our other supervisors, almost lost another one in insert building name here. The other supervisor laughed. I'm surrounded. The other supervisor laughed and said, "Why do you think we send for the new guys? Ha ha ha. You know, I don't even like going over there." Well, that guy's my roommate and hates when I bring up that experience. Could you imagine being held underneath this large chandelier and it's swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging, and just as it breaks to fall, you're released. And you've got to have the presence of mind to get the hell out of the way.
No.
Oh, that's so horrible. That's so diabolical. Terrible thing.
Whenever a story has anything to do with a psych ward, I immediately cannot blame anything that's about to be said.
Yeah.
The amount of fear and just wild emotions that went on in those old psych wards. I mean, it's kind of like we talked about on Wednesday. You know, when you're in these areas, I mean, these are all victims. So, I mean, it's not too surprising that something dark would feast upon them. You know.
Yeah, it's certainly possible.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's no wonder that maybe they're so damaged they just can't move on. Because of all of that pain and all that agony and all that frustration and probably confusion and fear and terror and anger and every emotion is just, there. And of no fault of their own, they were dealing with God only knows what kind of maladies, if they were truly psychotic or if they were dealing with, hallucinations or schizophrenia. I mean, my God.
Oh, they're all victims. Every single one. I mean, even the violent psych ward patients. I mean, they're dealing with just hell in their own mind.
Right.
They're dealing with utter hell. It would drive anyone insane what those people deal with. Yeah.
Yeah. Back when I worked corrections, there was this one big guy. He came in. He was just huge. And he came in with a lot of red flags on his file. Oh. And they were like, don't do this around him. It pisses him off. He'll go off. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. And I worked security, and I had to respond and stuff. And he wasn't going off at this time, but I ended up talking to him in one of the day floors. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, I got real problems. There's a lot wrong with me, things like that. I was like, well, what's going on? He goes, well, I have so many voices telling me to do stuff. There's so many voices. I was like, well, are they your voices? No, they're not my voices. And I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, if you know they're not your voices, you don't have to listen. And he looked at me and his eyes lit up. And he picked me up in this huge bear hug. And this guy's like 6'4". Gave me a huge bear hug. And every time I saw that guy after that, he always had a big smile and would run up and, like it was a minimum security. So it wasn't like, a lot of medium or maxes. But he was just so happy that, I mean, it was just like, well, don't listen. You don't have to listen to those other voices. They're not yours. So, and it was a neat experience, but everybody was so afraid of this guy. It's like, yeah, just don't do anything to piss him off. Because I guess he would just go absolutely ape shit wild. He would just snap. Oh. And it was one of those things, but I was just, that's the only thing I could think of. And he looked at me like, that's a great idea. And then he had a great rest of his stay while he was with us. So.
Wow. It's one of those things where, like, the answer might seem obvious to people, but like when your brain is that chaotic, rationale is not like the forefront of your mind at that point. So like simple answers might be exactly what you need. So that, you gave him what you needed then.
I guess so. And God only knows what became of him, past my experience with him, but at least we had a great time with him after that. So that was neat. But yeah.
And Phil's right. You may have been the only one to actually listen to him.
I guess that's possible. I don't know. I mean, you're right. I mean, he came with so many red flags that nobody wanted to get too close.
Right.
And I was just there to talk to him because I was curious. Like, what is that like? What does that mean? And then he told me about his experience, and I was just like, well, if you know they're not your voices, don't listen to them. You're in charge. Yeah. It was this, yeah, I'm in charge. So it was a great experience.
That's awesome. No, that's great.
Memory lane.
And Maggie's right. Our brain and psychology, that's like... It's one of the things we know least about in our like biology and physiology is our brain.
Yeah.
So it's actually crazy that I know one understanding things, you have to try everything you can, but there were some wild things we did to psych patients and.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately a lot of medical researchers they just there was no empathy at all. It was all just charts and theories, and that would be solved with saws and procedures, and God only knows what else. I mean, geez, if you think of the lobotomies and the electroshock therapies, cold therapies, things that putting these people in ice baths and making them deal with that, and it turns out that's actually kind of healthy because now you got to pay good money for a good ice bath, but.
Some of those practices we still, at least one that I know of, we still kind of do today. Now, it could be slightly wrong, but from when I worked at the hospital, there was a psych section that I had to once in a while do phlebotomy at. And they told me one of the procedures they had to do was they took these two electrodes or metal pieces or whatever, and they would actually put it to their temples. And it wasn't like an electric shock where it was like, oh, they're just cranking it, going crazy, but just a mild electric charge that would go through the brain and actually calm everything down. So that we still do to this day.
Yeah. No, I didn't meet Don in corrections. I worked corrections in Minnesota, and Don worked corrections in Washington State. So two very different experiences. Yep. But Rachel asked, so I thought I'd answer that. But yeah. Crazy. Thank you, Sparky's Paranormal Outdoors and Outdoors. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for seeing us. Thanks for giving us a shot. All right. We're at 22. We'll do one or two more. Was this the one? No, that's the one we just read. Okay, number 36. The sweet old lady. I cared for an elderly woman with no family who came to us when her husband had died. She didn't speak often, but when she did, it was usually just words that really made no sense together. And I felt so bad for her because ever since she had arrived, so many of the residents in her area that seemed to enjoy spending time enjoy spending time with had passed in such a short time span. Well, she put up a picture of each of them next to her pictures of her husband and several others who were probably family just to remember them. I remember this story. I heard it from another thread. This is kind of ends up creepy. I had always felt sorry for her and showed her extra attention and became close. It just seems so unfair that she had such luck and kept losing people that she cared so much about. Well, one day she looked at me and said, plain as day, "Sweetie, I think I'm done now," and handed me a picture. And it was a picture of me, and I smiled because it touched my heart that I wasn't that important to her. Well, she passed nearly a week later, and I cried for days. It really hit me very hard. She knew it was the end for her, and she said her goodbyes as best as she could. A little less than 2 years later, I was talking with a colleague, and she came up in our conversation. My colleague referred to her as that crazy bitch, which seemed very out of character for her, and it shocked and offended me deeply. Well, I expressed this to her not so nicely, and she looked at me with this shocked look and said, "Oh, dear, don't you know?" And then explained something to me that I hadn't known. As it turned out, it came out sometime after she had passed that she had killed her husband by poisoning him, and that there was an investigation because it appeared that she had a ritual of befriending someone, obtaining a picture of them, and hiding the picture until she could kill them, usually by poisoning, and then displaying the picture as a sort of trophy. It was suspected that this may have been the reason for the spike in mortality rate during her stay within the considerable number of photos that were in her collection. The last I heard, the old family photos weren't any relation to her, and that the police were trying to ID the individuals and compare them to several cold cases.
Oh my lord.
Holy God.
Whoa! What a twist!
Yeah, she is a serial killer. Oh my God.
My. Realizing she took a photo of you after, like, oh my God, I was close.
No.
I was next.
Yeah, exactly. I was next, and she gave her back. Maggie said, "I was about to say what a sweet story. Never mind." Hey, Portal. Nora says hi. I'll be sending update photos tomorrow or on Sunday with my email. Very good, brother. I'll be glad to see them. Very cool.
Right after we hear the story of photos equaled, you're gonna die.
Yeah. Timing is everything, but yeah.
Yeah.
What a creepy story. Car Juice over in Rumble said that's crazy. Yeah.
Ooh, that's wild.
Yeah, Justin Gooder said wow as well. Yeah, you just never know, folks. There's always that side of it. There's always that possibility. Yep.
And that's the crazy thing, too. I mean, sometimes you have no idea who's really in your social circle.
Well,
you
that's
think
true.
they're one person.
Yeah.
Whew. I've
many-
been tricked like that before. Like, you don't realize who someone is, you know?
Yeah, yeah. This,
Not to this degree, but yes.
yeah, it's scary. But you're right. Many of us could have friends that are, maybe just a hair away from serial killer. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like they're just one bad choice away.
What is the ratio of psychopaths in the? Is it like not 1 in 5? That's
I don't
nuts.
know. I have no idea. That's a creepy thing to think about, though.
Yeah.
I should probably change this image framing a little bit so you don't see all my shirt and see more of my head. There we go. That's a little more lively than cutting off my head. So,
there we
yeah,
go.
there we go. Maggie said that's just gross. It's the befriending and obtaining a picture that creeps me out. Yeah, it is really. Yeah, that is gross. You're right.
1 in 100. Okay, 1%. 1 in 100 people. Okay.
Yeah, but when
So
there's-
it's possible that everyone here has met one, at least one psychopath in their life.
I worked in corrections. I met a bunch of them.
Well, you're different. You were in, that area. Yeah.
I met a whole bunch of psychopaths. Absolutely not just gone, checked out on the emotional. Nicest people could just smile and they could just as soon slice your throat or talk about a cookie recipe. It means about the same thing. It's just really, really, really insane to think that there's such a disconnect when it comes to that stuff. But
Oh, it's wild. Yeah.
yeah.
1 in 20, Sparky Paranormal Outdoors says.
1 in 20.
Okay, that's a lot. If that's true, that's a lot more common than holy jeez.
Chances are you all know one probably right now. Just saying.
Yeah, and that's
Good news is I don't know anybody. That's the benefit of being a hermit, folks. I don't ever have to worry about those social circle issues because I don't have one. You guys are my social circle, and maybe there's some of you guys are dealing with less than a full deck. I don't know, but
1%
I love
is schizophrenic.
I love you all anyway.
Okay.
We're all a little broken in here, but
Yeah, that's okay. We're all a little broken. Yeah, exactly.
we are. All right, so I think this is where we're going to stop with this article. What number did we get to? Let's see. We're up to 37. There's 49, so yeah, I'll have plenty to read tomorrow. Mr. Tex might be joining me. I forgot to ask him. I talked to Tex today. Forgot to ask him if he was going to be part of the journey tomorrow. It's weird. My head is so much bigger than yours. Maybe I should.
What?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Well, the way I've got this framed, it is. I think I'm going to.
Mine's wider. Yours is longer.
Yeah, but I'm going to.
Oh, you meant in the. I thought you meant literally. I thought you were talking literally. Okay, never mind.
No, I didn't mean literally.
Okay.
I just meant that I'm trying to size you up so it looks like I'm not a giant and you're a kid on a beanstalk. Okay, there we go. All right, there we go. Our heads are more well matched now. Yeah.
Good.
That's what I was talking about. The layout was what I was dealing with. Yeah.
Okay.
You're just although your head is very square, like very sizable from left to right, front to back. It's very symmetrical. Mine is like I look like the xenomorph from Aliens. Like I got a really long head, I think.
No, you know what screwed me up actually a couple years ago that I realized?
Huh.
My face is not symmetrical. One eye is lower than the other.
Just turn your neck a little bit. Just like that. It's actually weird to see you without glasses.
Yeah. Feels weird not having them on, actually.
You look like you just came out from diving in a swimming pool or something. Put them back on. Put them back on.
God, everything's fuzzy.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
why you got them. Okay. All right. Sheldon, that's the first. Finally, he said his head is bigger.
Yeah, he's calling himself fat, not me this time.
Sheldon has a good webcam, maybe better than Brent's. What is your webcam you're using?
It's the one that I got with it's 1080p, 60 frames per second. I don't know. It's a Logi.
Well, it's Logitech. Yeah, that's Logitech.
Oh my God.
No, you're right. There's the Logi.
Yeah.
Line.
that thing.
Line was what I was trying to say.
Oh, I thought it was short.
Logitech.
I thought you were saying it's short for Logitech. Okay.
Well, it's Logitech's line called Logi or Logi or Logi. I got a 4K MX Brio. It's also Logitech, but it's 4K and does 60 frames a second. So I don't think so, Android, but I got to tell you, you guys are seeing it broken down and rebroadcast, so they probably look pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, let's see. We're going to probably hit the cryptids at this point, folks, because it's time for some creatures and stuff. And my God, I can't think of anything better to do. What about you, Sheldon?
I'm always ready for cryptids. Yeah.
You ready? All right. Well, by God, it's time for the cryptid corner, and that's what we're going to do. Thank you, Taco. Good to see you too, brother. You're the reason I love podcasts, paranormal, and creepy stuff. Don't ever forget. I never forget you, brother, but always glad to see you when you show up. It's great to have you here. We love you, brother. All right, so we have more stuff to get to, and that is the cryptids, as I said, and I've got several articles pulled out. We're going to start over at Phantoms and Monsters tonight. This one sounds like out of the UK. Isn't Devonshire Forest in the UK? Pretty sure it is.
Oh.
Okay, so we're going to start from phantomsandmonsters.com, ladies and gentlemen. This is Lon Strickler's site. Lon's a hell of a guy. He's been at this for a long time. Really a pillar in the community. He has research teams looking into phenomena all over the U.S., and he's a published author. He is, of course, the creator of phantomsandmonsters.com, which is an incredible site. If you haven't checked it out, please do. Lon's got literally thousands of encounter stories, and he vets a lot of those. He actually talks to the witnesses. Not all of them, but he talks to the witnesses on the ones that he can, and digs into them and kind of vets them. So it's really cool. And Lon does his own podcast, which would have happened earlier tonight. I didn't catch it tonight. I was prepping and got tied up in about 5 other things, so I didn't have a chance to listen to it. But it is Phantoms and Monsters Radio on YouTube, and you can check that out. And definitely watch Lon stream. He streams live for sure on Friday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, which would be 8 p.m. Central. It's literally an hour before I go live, so it's a hell of a good way to spend your Friday night. Start with Lon and come in and hang out with me. I don't know.
That's right.
That, to me, seems about perfect. So, just an idea. But check out Lon. He does an amazing job. And he's also been a guest on the podcast a few times and on the live shows. So, I've got to get him back. I say this every time. And I did send him a message. So, we're going to try to line something up to get Lon back on the show. Got to get Wes on the show, too. I got to talk him into making an appearance here on the live show, or at least on the podcast again.
Absolutely.
He's got to do it. He owes me, I think. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, so we're going to start with phantomsandmonsters.com, ladies and gentlemen, with this article. This is cryptid monstrosity encountered in Devonshire Forest. Sheldon, you are enormous in this frame. I got to move.
Wow.
In this frame. Your frame. Don't do it.
I didn't say anything. I just said wow.
Yeah, I know what you were doing there. You think you're so damn clever. I'm going to actually make your square a little smaller like this. That way you're on screen, but it's not blocking out everything. Okay, here we go. Cryptid monstrosity encountered in Devonshire Forest. And let's check this one out. I wonder why people don't combust anymore. Good question, SoCal. That is a really good question. How come that happened?
It's a good problem to have, I'd say.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a great question, though. That used to be all the deal, and now nobody's burning up alive. It's a creepy phenomenon when it was happening, but it did seem to just kind of die off, didn't it? Oh,
Yeah.
That was kind of a pun. Unintentional, but it happened. All right, that's when I heard it, the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps. Tramping? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not used to that word being used, so that's very regional, I think. Tramping through the underbrush, rapidly getting closer. My heart pounded, and it sounded like at least 30 footfalls. I received the following account. This is from Lon. So he says, when I was 16, my life changed forever. I had broken my back in a bad accident and was bedridden for months, unable to move. The pain was excruciating, but the psychological toll was even worse. Being trapped in a hospital bed, staring at the same four walls day after day. But I was determined to recover and get my life back. As soon as the doctors cleared me, I decided I needed to go out into nature to truly heal my mind and body. My mom agreed that a camping trip down to the beautiful Devon countryside might be just what I needed. Well, she dropped me off. She didn't go with you? She dropped me off at a remote forested area with my tent, some supplies, and a portable charger to keep my phone powered up. Well, I'd scoped out what looked like the perfect isolated spot just to set up camp. Sure, it seemed to be on private land, but it was getting late and I didn't want to risk camping too close to a public area. Well, I quickly pitched my tent as darkness fell, cracked open a cider, and fired up the YouTube on my phone as I settled in to relax. And that's when things took a turn for the sinister. I noticed my phone battery was draining faster than it should, even while charging. Strange, but I tried not to think too much of it, and that's when I heard it. The unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps tramping through the underbrush, rapidly getting closer. My heart pounded. It sounded like at least 30 footfalls. Was it an aggressive hiker? Or worse, a property owner with a shotgun? In a panic, I unzipped the tent and stuck up my hands, preparing to face whoever was out there, but there was nothing. Just an eerie silence of the forest. The footsteps that had been nearly on top of me just seconds before simply faded into an unnatural nothingness. A deep sense of dread washed over me at that moment. Something was horribly wrong here. I turned my head slowly, my gut telling me I wasn't alone. And that's when I saw it, barely 20 feet away. Unmoving, yet undoubtedly alive, a massive skeletal beast around 5 feet tall, vaguely resembling a hairless, emaciated dog. Its blank face was frozen in a permanent bestial snarl. Lips pulled back to expose rows of jagged teeth. I've never felt such primal fear, wordless terror. Fight or flight didn't even enter into it. I instinctively scrambled backwards into the tent and zipped it up, curling into a tight ball on the floor. My mind had simply shut down, overloaded by the sight of that thing. After who knows how long, I somehow thought to check my phone in desperation. It was completely drained, so I frantically swapped in the portable charger. An agonizing 50 minutes crawled by before it finally turned back on with just 3% battery remaining. With shaking hands, I managed to text my mom in a frantic plea for help, dropping my location pin and a prearranged code phrase for an emergency extraction. The phone died again before she could respond. All I could do was hunker down in my sleeping bag and try not to imagine what sort of ungodly abomination was lurking just outside those thin nylon walls. The next few hours passed like a waking nightmare. Every minor sound, a snapping twig, a rustling bush, sent panicked visions through my mind of that towering, bony creature closing in for the kill. Finally, I heard the blessed rumble of an engine in the distance. Risking a peek outside, I nearly collapsed with relief at the sight of my mom's car pulling up. I didn't even wait for the code response. I just grabbed my bag and sprinted straight for her open arms, leaving the tent and all my other belongings behind without a second thought. To this day, I have no rational explanation for what I encountered out in those woods. Maybe it was a delirious hallucination or vivid waking dream brought on by stress and fatigue. Maybe it was just an unfortunate trick of light and shadow playing on the already frayed nerves. All I know is that I've never felt such abject primal terror before or since. My body was robbed of all ability for rational thought or action. Only the most basic instincts for self-preservation remained. I'm not generally someone who believes in the supernatural, but that day in Devon will eternally be burned into my psyche as an omen. A warning from the universe that some places are better left undisturbed by human trespassers. If I had pressed on with my ill-fated camping excursion, I shudder to think what other shadowed monstrosities might have surfaced from the murky depths of that ancient woodland. Yikes.
Wow.
What the hell is that? And that's a depiction of what he saw, I guess, as far as that's what Lon had created to visualize it, but that's horrible. What would you do, Sheldon?
What can you do?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if it looks as real can be, because I was thinking like, okay, that sounds like it's something spiritual.
Yeah, but if
like,
it's manifest, yeah.
Like a manifested spiritual thing, but
yeah.
Like, like Dogman in a way? Because, like, there have been some depictions of Dogman that's spiritual, more of a spiritual, ghostly entity. So, like, it just took on a different form to scare you away?
Could be just something like that. Like if it's an ancient wood, there could be guardian spirits to it. I think that a lot of times nature spirits probably take on the role of guardians of places. If there's still places that are left undisturbed by people, that they may show up and show people visions like that to make them leave. I don't know.
That is crazy.
Just a theory. I don't have anything to back that up, but just a thought.
Sure.
Yep.
Wow. Well, what are your thoughts?
I think I just shared it. That was pretty much kind of where I'm going with this, because it's kind of a one-off thing, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, there's the old tales of the hellhounds and stuff like that, which are supposedly these rotten, huge. I mean, usually they're jet black and with fiery eyes and stuff a lot of times, but perhaps they could appear like this too. I don't know. But I'm thinking kind of like hellhound. Maybe it's a hellhound.
No, that's not a bad depiction.
And these old woods probably have plenty of, I mean, if it's an ancient forest, it could have histories of all kinds of different types of worship and practices. And there's certainly no shortage of tales, even in America and all over, of these, satanic groups holding dark rituals. And what could they have summoned? Well, maybe that's one of the things they could have summoned.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I think the intention was to scare you away or scare the person away.
Right.
Because I don't think a tent is going to stop that. If it wanted to make you missing 411, it would have.
Yeah, well, there is the old tale of kids pulling up the blankets when something horrible's coming for them, and they turn out fine too. I don't know what it is about blankets, but apparently covering up does offer some sort of level of protection. I don't know what it is, but it's creepy. I would think that would be the last thing you'd want to do, though. let's say you're standing in close proximity to something like this. Do you cover your eyes and just, or do you keep an eye on it and think, well, God, I at least got to give this a shot. I got nothing, but I'm not expecting much, but I'm not going to just, melt into a pool of my own sorrow.
That was my thoughts exactly when I was a child. I always used to get confused when like watching a show or a movie, and like the child goes under the covers. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
You can't see what it's about to do.
Right.
Maybe you can dodge it. Maybe you can outmaneuver and get away from it. Why would you just blindly go on the covers? You're a stationary target. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
That was my thoughts exactly. Yep.
Yep. I'm just saying, I'm not, again, I don't know. And again, this could have been just, creative writing by somebody sending this to Lon. But I'm sure Lon would have reached out and talked to them. And I didn't see a note from Lon at the end, so doesn't seem to be any feedback from him on it. But interesting enough, it's a creepy story for sure.
Yeah.
I think we've got time for one more. And this is a Michigan dog man. Beware of the wolf that walks. Just look at how big that is. There's a person in the cabin and then this outside.
God. Oh, my Lord. Yeah, no.
Yeah, maybe the blankets are looking like a good idea. If that's what you're looking at, maybe covering up and not seeing it kill you would be good. But here it is. I got a good look at what it was. It had a humanoid body. Muscular, yet lanky at the same time. And the head wasn't like that of a Sasquatch. It was like that of a wolf. I received the following account. This happened to me in 2018 at Sleepaway Camp, and it still sends shivers down my spine. Well, I've always had a passion for the supernatural and the idea of cryptids roaming the forest, but I've just always kept my guard up since this encounter. So, to set the scene, I was on a winter camping retreat with my church called Ice Camp, and we traveled to a place called Camp Mishindo, located just outside the town of Hillsdale, Michigan. The first night it was pretty much uneventful, but we got to explore the campgrounds at night, as well as get settled into our cabins. However, all the joy was taken out when we were told never to explore the campgrounds alone at night, or the monsters would get us. What? Who would do that?
Oh my God.
I mean, if you're worried about monsters, don't bring kids. I mean, let's chalk up a list of bad ideas. Bringing kids to monster areas is one. Anyway, for a bunch of rowdy teenage boys, we just laughed it off and went to bed. Well, the morning was uneventful, but one detail about where my cabin was, it was across a large lake with a relatively small footbridge connecting our cabin with the main lodge and all the other cabins. So in the main dining hall, one of the cabins mentioned how last night none of them got to sleep because something was howling in the woods near a section called the Western Town. And my cabin didn't believe them for a second, and we just told them that it was just coyotes or wolves, since there would have been gray wolf sightings near our camp. However, the teens telling us this were shaken up, as they were adamant that it was something else, and we joked it was just Bigfoot. So they just told my cabin to shut the F up, and we did. Well, as the day progressed, my cabin and counselor had done activities to keep us interested. However, the evening would be the worst night of our lives. It was around midnight, and we set up a bonfire to sit around and reflect upon the sermon that was given. And shortly after that, we just began to talk about random stuff. And when we heard a bunch of coyotes, we thought nothing of it. But then it just went dead quiet in the span of maybe a couple of minutes. Then we heard one of the most guttural howls that seemed like a human being murdered mixed with a wolf howl. And this made us all jump up, but we wanted answers to what we heard, so my counselor, myself, and 2 other cabin mates entered the woods with a 200 lumen flashlight, We had good visibility, and at first we didn't find anything. And then way off in the distance, the furthest area the flashlight could reach, we saw 2 pair of red glowing eyes looking at us. And as it got closer, we thought we saw wolves. But the movements were unnatural. It was more like a person down on all fours. My counselor told us to move away slowly, but the creature kept approaching. And before I could remember, the second one stood up and began to charge us. And we ran as fast as we could. We yelled to our cabin mates to get their butts into the cabin, and of course they were confused as to why we were running until they heard the same howl as earlier. And we hauled our butts from the bonfire across the footbridge, but we stopped halfway because we thought it wouldn't go any closer until we heard the wood creaking rapidly, and my entire cabin booked it once again, this time up to my cabin, and we bolt the door shut. Whatever had followed us was now circling the cabin. All of us were freaking out, but then the thing looked into the window, and I got a good look at what it was. It had a humanoid body, muscular yet lanky at the same time, with a head that wasn't like that of a Sasquatch. It was like that of a wolf. And all night we heard scraping and heavy footsteps, until early morning, it lost interest and just left. I went to get some breakfast early that morning, and to my horror, I found a large set of claw marks in the wood and a large set of footprints leading towards the woods. So after that harrowing encounter, I found out that the thing that we saw was not Bigfoot, but rather an older cryptid from Michigan folklore called the Michigan Dogman. Ever since then, I refused to go to a sleepaway camp. Yeah, no kidding. Because whatever I saw, I knew it would still be roaming the campgrounds. Yikes.
Jeez.
That's pretty crazy, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, why would they have sleepaway camp at a place where dogmen are seen and encountered by the kids? It's like, what is this? What is this camp sponsored by Hogwarts or what the hell's going on? Jesus. You kids are going to be swimming with Grindylows. It's like what, little squid things that want to drown you? Yeah, it sounds like Hogwarts. This sounds like a Hogwarts camp.
Yeah.
What in the hell? Oh my God. What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do, folks? I don't
Amazing
even know.
Logic.
Yeah, I know. Oh, it's confusing to say the least.
Yeah.
But that's a great story. It really is a good story.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think we've kind of burned through the show. What do you think?
Oh, geez, looks like it. My lord.
It goes fast. Time flies when you're in the portal. Oh, yeah. Brent mentioned a ding-dong the other night, and I had to look that up, too. Did I mention a ding-dong? I don't remember mentioning that. But they're like these little pastries, or the sound of a doorbell. Either one.
Okay, my brain was on the doorbell. Like, what?
You forgot about like little Debbie cakes, the ho-hos ding-dongs. They're like, they look like hockey pucks.
Yeah.
But they got the cream filling in them. Oh, Android coming on.
Oh, Android.
Woo! Thank you, Android. Great show, gents. I'm going to post the telepathy tapes in Discord. Johns Hopkins neuroscientist doctor proves many severe autistic who can't speak can read minds. It's incredibly powerful.
Oh, that's cool.
You know what? Now that you mentioned that, Android, somebody did mention that recently as well. And maybe it was you mentioning it before. But I thought Chucky did too. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for putting that over in the Discord. Sheldon, do you want to take a moment and talk about our Discord?
Absolutely, guys. I'll put the link right in the chat for you guys. But it's our way to stay connected to each other in community. All the amazing links that everyone provides with all the discussions as well, right in the page. Feel free to contribute. Feel free to join. Yeah, you know what? While I'm at it, don't forget, guys, paranormalportal.net is the best place to stay up to date on the Paranormal Portal, when it's going to go live, when a new episode is out. and your very own link right there to schedule your very own interview if you have an amazing story to share.
Deb Varner says, Brent, we're in Savannah and my guide seemed to want you here. I went to take a pic and heard something, and it was your show. So you're here with us tonight. Aw.
Wow.
Thank you, Deb. Well, I'm glad I'm there. I'd love to be there in person. Next time you go, let me know. I'll hide in the suitcase or something. Unless you drove, then I'll just sit in the car. But yeah, I'd love to go to Savannah. It's one of those places that has always seemed amazing to me. It's a very eclectic, interesting place. I read a book years ago. It's called something about In the Garden of Good and Evil. And it's not supernatural at all, but it was just a really interesting story about Savannah life that was written about by this author. And it seems like a neat place. Some very cool characters. So yeah, have a great time, Deb. Thanks for bringing us with. We're all with you. And we love you and have a safe journey. And yeah, if anything, are you doing any research? If you are, let me know.
Ooh, yeah. Keep us up to date on that.
Mike Prine says, look a dog man in the face. No, thank you. No. I'll just take the no thank you clause. No. But yeah, it's been a great journey, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys had a good time. Always love doing these shows with you guys. And thank you for spending part of the weekend with us.
Yeah.
We'll be live again tomorrow night. I'll be here anyway. Tex from Texas Front Porch may be joining me if he can. That'll be great to have him back on. But if not, it'll be me, and I'll talk with you guys, and we'll take a run through the portal. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. Unless, let me look at the schedule quick. Hold on. I got to look because I know sometime coming up there's a different plan, but I don't remember when that is. So it's not tomorrow anyway. It was on the 3rd. No. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was on the 10th. Yep. Oh, yeah, on the 10th of May, Dave Scott is going to be joining me right here on the portal, folks. We're bringing Mr. Dave Scott. So, yeah, we got that going for us. That'll be next month, May 10th, folks. Dave Scott will be entering the portal for the first time. Sorry. That'll be fun. Thank you, Maggie.
Oh, thank you, Maggie.
I really enjoyed my time with Dave Scott over on Spaced Out Radio. I had a good time with him. And fantastic guy. I always knew he was probably a great guy. I just never had the chance to meet him. But I'm really glad I've met him now and really enjoyed talking to him. So I'll be looking forward to getting Dave on the show here. That'll be coming up on May 10th. So until then, God, I guess that's about it. Love you all. Happy Dog Lady, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. And thank you, Deb. If you're coming back in the fall, I might just join you. You never know. It's possible. Mm-hmm. Depends on when in the fall, though, because September is going to be an absolute sprint for me in a lot of ways. But we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day and remember to laugh as much as you can. Hi, Michelle Wolfong. And I'll see you tomorrow night right here on the portal, 7 p.m. Pacific. Wherever you're watching now, just tune in tomorrow at the same time and you can join us. So good night, everybody. Good night over there in Rumble. Dog Digger came in. Good to see you, brother. Thank you, Car Juice, Barbara, Justin, and anyone else that's lurking over there. Good to see you guys. Yeah. Thank you to any of you watching on Facebook or X as well. And hello to anybody over on Twitch. So that's the journey. That's what we're going to get to tonight. And thank you, Aussie Tiger. Great show, Brenton, Sheldon Thomas.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to roll the credits. See you tomorrow.
Good night.